Modified family, we are back home again. Beautiful, productive day. So let's keep it going. Got a little bit of time. I got some hot water boiling. And yes, I am planning on making some Thai veggie soup. But in the meantime, I'm heating up water to add to my hot tank. I got the propane tank on. It is going. I tried to get some more of that Zep citrus degreaser at Lowe's. They didn't have any more, so we had to do without. I found some Dawn degreaser, and I know Dawn's pretty good, and it should be metal safe for all the types of different metal that's going in there. Today, I would like to get the hot tank going to begin our series of the b18a1 rebuild. I'm hoping to use as many stock parts as I already have on hand. I just found my extended studs for my GSR, so that will also be in this video. So give me 5 on my black hand side and let's go. All right, here's my GSR. It's coming further and further. Most things that should be on there are on there, and I figure why not take this a chance to put on my extended studs to make the Skunk2 intake manifold that we ported fit. So these are those, and these should be a lot easier to install. You can see I need to buy a new nut because while getting out the old ones, I destroyed that one. So I need to find more of these. I should have when I was at Lowe's today, but I didn't have one to compare it to. But these install much easier because they have an Allen key, and we have the sockets that allow those to go into a ratchet. So I can ratchet all those in, get them nice and deep. I'll put a little thread locker on them, and then I'll be able to put that Skunk2 manifold on. I took this out of its home. It is so hard to keep this thing clean and nice so it goes in. Right now we have the stock throttle body, not the cool Alpha 70mm one from Skunk2, because the first plan for this GSR is to make sure that it's carb legal and I can pass my test with ref. I was going to make my own gasket, but then we checked out this stock one. We had a couple for the GSR, and this one actually matches up exactly. There's no overlap. It does not cover any of the openings that would block any of the airflow, so we should be good to go. So it should be a pretty easy install. So let's pop out back and we're going to check out that hot tank. It should not even be hot right now. I just put it on about 10 minutes ago. I am absolutely loving this. I think altogether it's about $200 to put together this at-home hot tank. That's only because I paid $75 for this propane tank. I got it at Lowe's. Do not do that. Buy it anywhere else. They're like $40 or less. So overpaid by about $30. Otherwise, it would be closer to about $150, $160 for all the equipment needed, including the trash can, the cleaners, and then this. So I haven't added the new cleaner yet. I'll bring that out. But right now, it's just warming. So I'm going to add some hot water to this. And these have been soaking here for a few days. They're just sitting here. So I'm letting the top sit on here. This is the old liquid. So I'm just gonna add a little bit more to it to refresh it. And this was a lot more greasy than the head from the B18 and the GSR. So more degreaser is definitely gonna help. First pot of water in there. Add some heat to this mixture. This was the Dawn cleaner. We got the smaller one. This was only about $8. And so we gotta be very precise with the measurement. Smells good. Perfect. And so I think it'll probably take another couple pots of boiling water. I just want to get this up to temperature fast. I always say I'm going to start this early, and I always start it late. It's probably about 4 or 5 in the afternoon, even with the time change. But these will be completely submerged, and this water will be boiling, and I'll keep the top on here. This is surprisingly easy, even easier than the last time I did it. But yeah, just a teeny bit of thread locker on these. Then I start them by hand and then crank them down. I have like 5 left. Yeah, it's just that easy. So, I mean, there's nothing really to show, especially because this is not inside of a car. This would be substantially harder to do. And once these are on, I don't ever plan on taking them off. I'd rather take off the whole head than have to take these off because it's just a pain. But I have all this elbow room right now, so no sweat. So I wanted to show you with the gasket on how none of these ports are interrupted. So it comes close, but it still does not block any of the airflow. Sorry for that fast transition. And one of the things I've noticed is that the GSR coolant port right there is a circle. And I think on the B16 and the Type R, on the P70 PR3 head, it is a square or like a rectangle. So that's a quick way to identify the gaskets, because otherwise they look almost identical, but they're not. Usually I have a second set of eyes on me when I'm working that calls me out when I miss stuff. So one thing that I noticed, I had the whole top row of washers and nuts threaded on here was these little flakes of metal, like in here and in there. And I realized that after we port matched these two things together, the head went into the hot tank, but this did not. So I'm gonna take this bad boy back off. I had to pull this line, but then I didn't tighten that on there, and clean it. Just give it a quick like dust off, because I think that could substantially wear the internals. As we did so much precision work to make sure this thing was perfect, to throw like a handful of glitter in here to destroy my motor, because that's how wear works. It just takes time and it will cause a big problem. So I'm gonna clean this, then I'm gonna tighten it down, then we'll see what it looks like when it's done. I would say that was quite a substantial amount. I wiped off the outside and blew it off as best I could. Then I opened the throttle body and wiped it out and sprayed brake cleaner down there. And that's what flushed all this mess out. So that's a substantial amount of metal to get mixed in with my oil and go over my cams and everything important in the top end and scrape up the cylinder walls, just wherever we get into. So yeah, I'm glad to have this cleaned out. And now I feel more confident putting this bad boy on. Every task I can complete solo builds my confidence. The new, did not tighten that one. Right after I said that, there's one I didn't tighten. So I got all these tightened. Let me find my socket to finish the job that I said I just finished. Okay, so these are now a 13. Hondas, I think, are 12s originally, but these aftermarket ones are, I think, still metric, but they are 13 millimeter. Perfect. All right, so now it's all tight. I was wondering why that one was sticking out farther than the other ones, but okay, now it's all good. And so all that's left to button up with this is just one little hose clamp, and this is together. So I'm very excited about this. The hot tank is still percolating. I put in 2 pots full of boiling water to add to the mix that was already in there. It was probably 3/4 full, and I put in 2 just pots full of hot water, and the fire's ripping away. I should have plenty of fuel in the tank. So this is what I was doing while that was going on. I'm gonna check it right now, and then we will check back when I am rinsing that thing out. So it'll probably be well after dinner. Every time I use the hot tank, I appreciate it, and I feel like I'm getting my money's worth. It's been cooking for quite some time. It was light, now it's dark. Tank's still chugging away without issue. I would like to start pulling some things out. These gloves are not gonna cut it. Last time, woo, look at that. Okay, so it's warm, that's good. Let's see what this looks like. Ooh, things are moving around. Got lots of steam, give a second for that to clear. All right, what do we got? You can see the crank, barely, you can see the crank is right there. It's actually quite fragrant. Smells pretty good in here, probably because of that Dawn. Let's see. Yeah, that's hot. That's very, very hot. All right, so I can't hold the camera and do this, but I'm gonna see if I can fish anything out. Maybe some of the smaller stuff that was less greasy, possibly the windage tray. I'm not sure. I can put like main caps in here, block, crank. I'm not sure what else, but I'll just export these into the kitchen, give them a rinse off, and put them on the counter to dry. One thing I haven't done is found a good way to get things out of the hot tank, because man, pieces of metal that are burning hot, oh, your fingertips, even with gloves on, this actually seems to make it worse, but I'm not gonna try it without the gloves. But everything's looking pretty good. These are some of the things that were in there. This is the rear main seal. Obviously, it's gonna get a new seal. This is just the bracket that holds it. These are the main caps, and so I'm gonna clean these up. Oh, well, they're already pretty clean. I just dried them off. I'm probably gonna give everything a little spritz with WD-40 when I set it outside in the garage. This is the oil pump. Once again, I was playing with this, and it was old, plus the degreaser probably weakened that a little bit. That's why that'll be replaced on the other side. This is how clean it is. There's marginal stuff in there that I can just wipe out later, but that gasket will get replaced. This is the windage tray. This is actually corrosion, like on here. This will not clean off. That will. But mostly I was just taking a little bit of water, a little bit of Dawn, just giving things mostly a wipe off just to get them ready for their second life. Next is gonna come the big show. I have the crank, which I'm gonna rinse off real quick before it goes outside. It's just burning hot and hard to carry. And then the block, the biggest, hardest, heaviest thing coming in next after the crank comes in. Side note, you can't really see inside of here, but I saw a lot of brass in there. So when the bearing let go, there's a bunch of pieces in there. And then when this is ready to go back on, we're gonna heat it up like we did the other ones, and it'll just melt everything, all those little pieces, and disintegrate them to make sure this is 100% clean so it can suck up fresh oil. All right, big part number 2, this is the crank. I don't feel any scoring on here. I can see some wear there. This one looks good, this one looks good. This one, maybe a little something. This one you can see where the bearing sat. That one's good, that one's good. I think this is the one that spun right here. I'm not sure, but I was making sure that all these holes were clear. And I just used my hands with gloves on there. I didn't want to use anything abrasive to scrub this. But yeah, this will go out to the garage. This will get oiled. And I think just some sort of like really super fine polishing would be the, oh, I'm just right in my kitchen. Whew, sorry, that's my lunch, drugs. All right, so I think that this looks pretty good. So I'm gonna say we're gonna send this, we call this usable. I'm just gonna dry it real good and it's gonna go out with everything else and oil it, and we'll see it all at the end. Block comes next. All right, just finished rinsing this off in the kitchen sink. I should have rather used the pressure washer, but it's late at night. I don't want to fire it up. I'm trying to keep peace with my neighbors who don't have any bad blood now, and I want to keep it that way. So engines are cool. Once you start to scrub them and get all the junk off it, all these numbers start showing up here. Oh, yeah, we know it's a PR4. It's just like the numbers at the base of a condom. You know, if you ever roll it down far enough, you can see those bad boys. Good luck, y'all. But this is very cool. And I appreciate my wife for being cool with this. And then she walks out doing laundry. She's like, I'm not cool with this. I'm like, whoops. But yeah, it's looking pretty good. Trying to get that 360. I'm hurdling lots of babies' toys and stuff like that. So I think I will still go back in with a little bit of oven cleaner, or I learned about this new special mix from another YouTuber. He gave me the recipe, so I might try that. But there's just a few little spots, you know, that didn't come out, but this whole thing was covered. This whole thing was grease, you know, so this is substantially better. And then we just gotta check to make sure this is smooth and the bottom of the head is smooth, and then it's a few gaskets and hopefully it's gonna go back together. I also have some questions. I wonder if I can use some of my old pistons for this. I have some GSR pistons that should still be good. I don't know. I'll have to do a bunch of research and a bunch of reading, and I'd like to go over some of this stuff with a wire wheel. So I'm gonna take this outside, I'm gonna put it on its side so any liquid that's in here can drain, because I don't have this off. And I'm gonna spray WD-40 on these. It's not gonna undo the rust that's in there, but I don't want it to get worse before it's honed. All right, here is a completely disassembled engine. The block, crank, main caps, oil pump, rear main seal, windage tray, oil pickup. A lot of the top end parts, certain things put in the bags just to keep them separate from getting lost. So everything is all together. The only thing this motor did not have was, actually two things. It didn't have a water pump. It didn't have that pipe that goes on the back. So that's gonna cost me, and this going back together into a state where it can be stored and ready to use like everything else we have in here. That's the oil pan that definitely needs a clean. So next time I get to this, I'm gonna hit that with oven cleaner. I'm gonna hit the outside of this with oven cleaner and just finish the few things left from the hot tank, just get into some of these little crevices and finish cleaning them out. So this is very good. Every time I use the hot tank, I feel like I'm going into profit. And then I got this big thing, I'm gonna spray this. It's all the places I do not want rust to happen. All this crap's gonna be clean, don't need it, just mostly inside the cylinders. This stuff can get it. I really hope there's no water inside the oil pump, those that want to stay clean. And I just love spraying stuff with this. All right, so here we go. All right, Modified family, until next time, peace.